crunchy bass sounds. Okay, so here I've got myself an instance of Serum 2. I'm just going to pop down a MIDI note, make it maybe a bar long, and drop it down to a nice low octave. Drop this waveform an octave and select just basic shapes. And so now we have a sine wave. Then I'll just add on some white noise. And I'll put the white noise through a high pass filter. So I'll just activate the noise in that filter. Change this to a high pass, take the resonance out for now, and we have a sound that sounds like this. Just a sine wave and white noise. But the magic happens when you distort the two sounds together. And then you have a crunchy bass sound. The first few settings that are going to make the biggest difference to this is the balance of all of these different elements. So the amount of bass going in, the more of that sub you have going in, the more the white noise kind of goes into the background. And then you can boost the noise to make it really up and in your face. And then again, to change the texture of this noise, you can just change where the cutoff is set. So you have different amounts of the noise being fed into the bass as well as different levels. And just from that alone, you have so many different variations on this. But then you can go back into the effects and the crunch will also vary with the amount of distortion and the type of distortion as well. So as you can hear, the amount of variations from just these parameters alone is enough to get countless different textures with this. Let's maybe go with asim. So satisfying, right? From here, you can change the noise type to get a different texture by doing really extreme FM. And I've talked about this in my last few videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But essentially, if we get this oscillator C, get it going through the filter, and just turn the noise down, but have it as an FM modulator for this waveform, then FM from noise. So we've got just a saw wave in the top. But at some point it starts to just completely destroy itself. If I drop this octave. And then maybe if I give that some voices as well. And then again, the level of this is going to affect how much is being fed into the distortion. And then maybe if I do phase distortion from self. Then it'll get super noisy. And then maybe change the pitch of this noise to change the way it's modulating the saw. And there you have it. It's pretty much as simple as that. It's just different noise textures and different noise amounts. Right, I'm just going to go back to the white noise for now and show you an extra layer that you can do to this. So if I go onto the mix tab here, send the noise to bus 1, then we can process that noise in the bus 1 lane and perhaps add something like a reverb. So it's like a hall. Right, so I've got it mixed in at 100% here. So now I can choose how to blend these 2 together. Now we have this gain slider at the end of each of these effects. So it's really useful because now we can gain stage between each effect, but I can also just use this as a general volume modulator. So if I go mod source oscillator B, and I'll set up a modulator for it now. I'll go oscillator B, I'll get myself a nice sine wave, and I'll turn the random phase down to 0 for both of these sine waves so they start at the same position. Set this down an octave. And then what I can do is I can go into the warp modes, and there's a new warp mode which is called odd/even, and it's a really interesting warping between these two shapes that basically allows me to decide the fullness of the noise, which is now, because it's being controlled by this, moving back and forth at audio rate, right? So I can then turn the level of this all the way down. It's simply being used as a modulator for this noise. If I go into the matrix, I can set the amount here. And I can also balance the level again on the oscillator page. Just for the purpose of this example, I'm going to just exaggerate the level of the noise so you can really hear what's going on. And if I play with the odd even now, it's going to warp the shape. And you can see as it gets more full, you end up with a more dense noise in the sound, and you can hear that like papery wobble to it. The reason why I like to do this modulation in the oscillator is because when I play a different note then, the modulation is always going to be at the same rate as the sub, which is a really satisfying effect. So now if I just turn the noise down a bit, we could just blend it with the rest of the sound again. So now to take this further, we can have the texture morph over time. So if we have a 1 bar LFO that is set to envelope mode, we can have it go the opposite way, starting from a sine and going more square. And let's have that level increase towards the end as well, so it gets more aggressive towards the end. I can maybe even have it sweeping in as well on this cutoff as well. We can also change the texture of the noise again by distorting it. Maybe go with like sine fold or something. Nice. And then because of that distortion being really aggressive, I'm going to just turn down the level to compensate. Maybe have it a little bit more at the end. So you got a nice contrast. And then from here, principle is just to keep in mind that distortion is going to be reacting to whatever you feed into it. So if I go and just change this to a saw wave now, then it's just a poop saw now. Triangle. Still works. Also, what we can do, if I just change this to a sine wave and just reset these warps as well, take C out of the filter, then if you boost this into the distortion, then it's going to create really nice overtones. And playing with the octave is going to get you different tones out of it. So maybe try a harmonic. Let's go fifth. Or maybe a fourth. For a bit more of a spooky vibe. And then we'll attach the level of this onto the LFO so it rises in towards the end of the sound. So yeah, that's pretty much how I go about making crunchy bass sounds. It's pretty much all about the balance of what noise type you use, what distortion you use, and how much of everything there is in the sound. Just make sure to note that the more noise there is in the sound, the less harmonic it'll be. So make sure to have enough sub in there to make sure that the noise isn't just a flat sound. but still has some kind of harmonic character in it. I hope you enjoyed this video or got something new out of it. And with all that being said, if you want to support the channel, you know what to do, and I'll see you on the next video.